want to start with about that there's this place. It's now elusive, but it's where the East meets the West on our classic map. West being Europe, East being Asia. Back in the day, it was often called Asia Minor. Known to my grandparents was the eastern tip of Asia Minor, a land known as Anatolia. And I say this because the history was most made known to me by my mom, constantly. Anatolia was a suburb of Constantinople. And in this land of my grandparents, where East meets the West, was effectively an overlap of Europe and Asia, a place where it was very important to respect differences. Christianity meets Islam, and so forth. It was, you can imagine. An important lesson, and it carries out to everyone who could grasp that lesson, But in the early 20th century, new powers were rising in the world, and it was now the end of the Ottoman Empire, and Constantinople became known as Istanbul. And new lines were being drawn. And at that point, my grandparents headed for America. They lawfully came in through Ellis Island and ultimately started a family in Astoria, Queens. And to Vasiliky Turner. Betty the most. She was born in 1927, just in time for a Great Depression. One of 6 kids starting life in some tough times. 8 people living in a small flat, 3 boys, 3 girls. Papa Theodoros, Mama Maria, and then Adam, Anastasia, Helen, Vasiliky, Vasily, and Constantine. 3 girls sharing a bed, 3 boys sharing a pull-out couch. We don't realize how good we got it sometimes. Mama cooked continental meals, baked breads, and exotic pastries like baklava and katiev. She sewed clothing and did laundry. Papa, their papa, gave them all their haircuts, mended their shoes, while working as a bricklayer, house painter, and cultivating their vegetables. Don't say I said this, but he was running a distillery in the basement. He was some extra cash. I think we're past the statute of limitations. So it was off to a free day at the Jones Beach in their 1926 Dodge. Life was good in Little Athens, as Astoria was so often called. Mom graduated Julia Richmond High School. World War II was over and she was now an adult. She still had to sneak out on her father and make a trip to Bermuda, with Mama's help, of course. And when she got back, she had nightmares for pulling one over on her father, who she greatly respected. It was a powerful lesson for her. She wrote about this in her memoirs. She wrote a lot of memoirs. She got into that through her groups, and it was special, And it was great to look at these things, and someday we should compile it all together and put it out there. I'll read them all at the end. I might take too long. Right. Anyway, back then, her papa said no college. He didn't want it too smart. It might deter a man. But that changed later. She put in a couple of years with Muzak, now a $500 million music company. Then a job with Pan American Airlines, a job she really loved. She earned many accolades and made her first trip to Greece and Turkey. And then she went out to the Midwest, be by her sister Helen, and she worked for a big company near Chicago, but eventually came back east. She now got a job with the Veterans Administration, doing great. She bought a '51 Chevy, life was good. But by now, this was a very, very important time, the most important time, the way I see it anyway, because her radio broke. And when her radio broke, she brought it in for service, and she met this really nice guy named George. He was very, very Greek too, And in 1955, they were married, and they settled down in a house that my father built himself on land that was once a potato farm. She turned down a job at Brookhaven Lab to be our mom, and And now among us today is my brother Lou, my sister Mary, 9 grandchildren, at least 14 great-grandchildren. But we were her best students. Some who just, let's see, well, I was gonna say some of the grandchildren just got here. We just got a couple more this past couple weeks. Little River and Luke, they're here. Anyway, Mom taught us a lot. She brought us to church, sent us to Greek school and American school, made us do our homework, cook, clean, and even made our clothes when we were little. So we always put on our Ev's own costumes when she told us to. In no time, she got active in the community. She put in 40 years with the Daughters of Penelope. She was secretary, publicity chairman, vice president. She was in the Ladies Philoptica Society, you guys heard. She taught Sunday school, and for many years she was the church secretary. She had a lot of skills. And like, you know, when you need a proofreader for your homework, we were in luck. Mom's experience and respect for the world was a great influence on us. By the 1970s, Betty went to work full-time at the State University at Stony Brook, a job that eventually she would take to retirement. She worked full-time, continued her community endeavors, and of course, took care of us. But this was a time in her life to answer her calling for further education. Part-time, she earned a multiple degrees, and in the early 90s, was loving the Stony Brook Roundtable. And some of her most treasured memories and connections were made there. That was big for her, too. She was an active member of the American Foundation for the Greek Language and Culture that partnered with Stony Brook University to create a Hellenic Study Center on campus. She really loved learning all cultures, especially Greek. And she loved to share what she learned. I want to say I'm touched personally by all who've expressed their appreciation for her spirit, and you've been touched by her passion. You know, she was a passionate woman. You've experienced that, and so many people have shared that back with me, and it touches my heart. Now God has called her home, and I thank you all for the love in this room, and may we all find the Asia Minor in our differences. Thank you.
Mes